You won't believe what happened at my ranch last week. It started out like any other day, just me taking care of the land and the animals. But things took a wild turn when the local HOA decided to step in. Yeah, the Homeowners Association. You know, those folks who think they own every inch of the neighborhood? They didn't just send a letter or try to talk it out. No, they actually showed up and used a gun to block my ranch road. Imagine that, someone pulling a gun just to keep me off my own property. It was shocking and honestly, a little terrifying. Now, the real star of this whole crazy mess. My donkey. He's usually just a quiet, stubborn friend who likes to hang out by the fence. But that day, he became an unexpected hero in a way no one saw coming. After the HOA blocked the road, things got even more heated. Their ATV was left unattended nearby, and well, let's just say my donkey had other plans for it. Somehow, he managed to drag that ATV all the way into the pig pen. The look on the HOA members' faces when they saw their vehicle covered in mud and surrounded by pigs. Priceless. This story isn't just about a fight over a road or a bit of rural drama. It's about standing your ground when others try to push you out. About the strange alliances you find in the most unlikely places. And yeah, about how sometimes the animals on your land are smarter and braver than the people who come around thinking they're in charge. But the biggest question still hangs there. What will the HOA do next? Will this crazy standoff finally end? Or is this just the beginning of a much bigger showdown? Stick around, because you won't want to miss what happens next. The whole situation started weeks before the ATV incident, when the HOA began sending letters about unauthorized use of the ranch road. That road has been there long before the neighborhood was built, and it's the only way in and out for me and the animals. At first, I tried to talk to them calmly, hoping we could find some kind of middle ground. But the HOA has a reputation for being strict and, honestly, a bit aggressive. I could tell they weren't interested in hearing my side. I'm not a confrontational person. But when they started putting up signs and even trying to block parts of the road with rocks and debris, I knew things were going to escalate. The gun incident shocked me because I never expected anyone to bring that kind of threat to a peaceful place like my ranch. I'm no stranger to tough neighbors, but this felt different. It felt like they were trying to intimidate me out of a place that's been my home for years. My donkey, Max, has been with me through all this. He's this calm, steady presence who somehow senses when things aren't right. After the HOA asked the HOAs, a TV got stuck in the pig pen. I started noticing that Max wasn't just acting out of stubbornness. He was reacting to the tension in the air. It's like he knew the roadblocks weren't just about property lines, they were about power and control. Meanwhile, the HOA members haven't stopped showing up, watching from the edges of the property, making it clear they're waiting for me to make a move. There's a strange energy around the ranch now, like something bigger is about to happen. I keep wondering, how far will they go? And what am I really up against? This story isn't just about a road anymore. It's about protecting what's yours, even when everything feels stacked against you. And trust me, the next chapter in this fight is going to get even more intense. As days went by, the tension between me and the HOA grew thicker, like a storm gathering on the horizon. The community meetings became a battleground where their members pushed hard, claiming the ranch road was private and insisting it wasn't meant for my use. But that road has always been my lifeline, connecting me to the main highway and everything I need for the ranch feed for the animals, deliveries, and even emergency access. It felt like they wanted to erase my place here, brick by brick. Behind the scenes, I started digging into the HOA's rules and history. Turns out, some of their bylaws were written in ways that seemed designed to squeeze out longtime landowners like me. The more I learned, the more I realized this wasn't just a A dispute over a road. It was about control, about how a few people with power wanted to reshape the neighborhood in their image, pushing out anyone who didn't fit their idea. Meanwhile, Max the donkey kept surprising me. He seemed almost protective, like he understood that the roadblock wasn't just about traffic, it was a threat to everything I've built here. After dragging the ATV into the pig pen, he became more restless, pacing near the fences whenever HOA vehicles drove by. The pigs, of course, loved the new toy, but the HOA members? They were furious. Rumors started spreading about legal action. Complaints, even threats to take the matter to court. But it wasn't just the HOA that complicated things. Some neighbors, caught in the middle, began taking sides quietly. A few sympathized with me, whispering about unfair tactics and heavy-handed leadership. Others sided with the HOA, seeing me as an outsider who didn't respect the community rules. That division added a layer of loneliness to the whole fight. Every time I think about what's next, the question lingers: how far will the HOA push this? And how far will I have to go to protect my ranch, my road, and my peace? The answer isn't clear yet. But one thing's certain: this battle is far from over. The days that followed felt like walking a tightrope over a canyon. One wrong move, and everything could fall apart. The HOA's presence grew more aggressive. Their trucks started parking closer to the ranch entrance, and I caught them snapping photos of the road and even recording video of me working the land. It was like they were building a case, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Every creak of tires on gravel put my nerves on edge. Max, my donkey, seemed to sense the rising tension more than anyone. He was restless, almost uneasy, pacing near the fence lines and sometimes braying loudly when the HOA vehicles came around. It was as if he knew trouble was coming and wanted to warn me. The pig pen where the ATV still sat, a muddy mess and a reminder of the clash, had become a symbol of this fight. The pigs seemed to thrive in the chaos, but the HOA members were less amused, muttering about damage and recklessness. Then, one evening, just as the sun was setting, everything came to a head. I noticed unfamiliar faces among the usual HOA watchers, people with serious expressions, maybe hired security or lawyers. The air felt electric, like the calm right before a storm breaks. I could hear voices raised, but they were just out of reach. Something was definitely happening. My phone buzzed with a message from a neighbor who had been quietly supporting me. They're planning to block the road completely tomorrow. You need to be ready. That message hit me like a punch, blocking the road. After everything, they were ready to cut me off for good. I looked over at Max, who stood still for a moment. Ears pointed toward the entrance. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the ranch. I knew whatever happened next would change everything. Would I be forced off my land, or was there a way to stand my ground? The night held its breath, and so did I, waiting for the showdown that was coming. Ready or not, just when I thought things couldn't get any more intense, the next morning brought a shock I didn't see coming. As dawn broke over the ranch, I stepped outside to find a brand new barrier blocking the road, a heavy metal gate with a lock and a fresh, official-looking sign slapped across it. But here's the twist. The gate wasn't from the HOA. It was placed there by the county, claiming there was an ongoing investigation into illegal road usage and warning that the road would remain closed until the matter was resolved. Suddenly, this wasn't just a neighborhood dispute anymore. It had escalated to a legal and possibly official level. I was stunned. The HOA had somehow convinced local authorities to get involved, and now the very road I relied on was sealed, shut by law enforcement. It felt like my entire world was closing in, and the line between neighborly conflict and official crackdown was blurring fast. Max paced nervously, sensing the tension. As if even he could feel how serious this had become, As if that wasn't enough, rumors started swirling about the HOA planning to push even further, possibly trying to claim parts of my land under new zoning rules or easements. It was clear they weren't backing down. They wanted to control every inch of the neighborhood, including my ranch. At the same time, some neighbors who had been quiet before began speaking up, worried that this fight could spiral out of control and change the entire community's future. Now I was stuck between fighting an HOA that seemed to have endless resources and navigating a complicated legal maze that threatened my right to use my own property. The roadblock wasn't just physical anymore. It was a battle over rights, power, and identity. Every decision I made from here on out would matter more than ever, and the stakes were higher than I ever imagined. What would I do next? The story was far from over, and the coming moments would test everything I stood for. The tension had been building for weeks, and finally, everything came to a head on a quiet afternoon. I arrived at the ranch to find not just the locked gate blocking my road, but several HOA members and county officials gathered around, ready to enforce the closure. Their faces were stern, determined, like this was the final battle to push me out. But I wasn't about to back down, not without a fight. I calmly explained my right to access the ranch, showing paperwork that proved the road had been used by my family for decades. I reminded them that shutting it down meant cutting off my only way in and out, jeopardizing the animals and everything I'd built. The HOA members argued, but something in their eyes wavered when Max the donkey stepped forward, braying loudly as if demanding justice. It was like he was standing with me, reminding everyone this land wasn't just about property lines, it was about home. Suddenly, one of the county officials pulled out a folder and revealed a new report, a survey from years ago showing that the road was actually a public right-of-way. The HOA had been trying to rewrite history, but the official documents told a different story. The gate was unlocked, and the road was reopened right then and there. Relief washed over me, and even the HOA members seemed caught off guard by the twist. But just as I thought the fight was over, Max trotted off toward the pig pen, where the ATV was still stuck in the mud. When I followed, I saw something strange. Tucked under the ATV was an envelope addressed to me. Inside was a note from one of the HOA members, surprisingly honest, admitting that some in the HOA knew the fight was wrong all along, but felt pressured to play along. They warned me, though, that the battle for the ranch wasn't just about the road. It was far from over. That moment changed everything. The road was open, but the real war for the heart of the ranch and the neighborhood was just beginning. And Max? Well, he was ready to face whatever came next, just like me. After the road was officially reopened, a sense of calm slowly settled over the ranch. The tension that had hung in the air for weeks began to ease, though I knew deep down this wasn't the end of the story. The note from that honest HOA member made me realize there were cracks in their unity. People who didn't agree with the heavy-handed tactics but felt trapped by group pressure. It reminded me that sometimes change starts quietly from unexpected places. Max, my donkey, seemed to relax too. He went back to his usual routine, content to nibble on the grass and watch over the animals. But every now and then, he'd glance toward the road like he was still guarding something important. Maybe he understood that protecting this ranch was about more than just keeping a road open. It was about standing up for what you believe in, no matter how tough the fight. In the days that followed, some neighbors who had been silent before began to reach out. Conversations started to shift from confrontation to understanding, and slowly, the community began to heal. The HOA also faced new questions about their rules and leadership, which opened the door for more fair and open discussions about how the neighborhood should grow. Looking back, this whole ordeal taught me a lot about resilience, patience, and the unexpected ways allies can emerge even from unlikely places. Standing your ground isn't always easy, especially when the odds seem stacked against you. But sometimes, That stubbornness is exactly what's needed to protect your home. So, if you ever find yourself in a tough spot, remember, don't underestimate the power of knowing your rights, trusting your instincts, and yes, Evan, the quiet strength of a donkey who just won't give up. Because sometimes that's exactly what it takes to keep your road open and your peace intact.